My wife Lynn and I traveled down to visit our good friends Alan and Penny Ambrose in West Jefferson, North Carolina during our Easter break. Lynn would stay at the house for the week with Penny and Alan, and I would take a few days and section hike a small portion of the Appalachian Trail, beginning in Damascus, Virginia, and ending in Grayson Highlands State Park. I woke up on a cool Tuesday morning with temperatures right at the freezing mark. After saying goodbye to Lynn, Alan drove me an hour and a half to Damascus. We drove around many turns up and around the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. It was a beautiful drive, and it was a great time to catch up with an old friend. We finally entered Damascus, and to tell you the truth, my heart was beating just a little bit faster as I anticipated my first backpacking trip in 9 months. I felt like I've been in Damascus before due to all the videos I've watched of people hiking through here on the AT. We pulled up to the Damascus Diner and had a great breakfast. I had the best waffles I've ever eaten, and Alan had good southern biscuits and gravy. Well, it was time to get hiking, so we drove a short way to the iconic Damascus Town Park. Alan and I stopped and had a word of prayer to ask God for safety for both our trips. He drove out of town, and I was on my way to another adventure. After putting on my pack and taking those first few steps, I was feeling much more comfortable, and all the nervous butterflies were gone. Walking through the Boy Scout Arch was a great way to start the trip, since I've seen dozens of hikers pass this way. Everything seems so familiar, even though I've never been here in person. The sun was shining, and the temperature was in the mid-30s, perfect weather for hiking. I passed the Red Caboose, the Beaver Dam Creek, and into town. As I made my way through the town, I kept seeing things I recognized, like the town hall and those AT bricks on the sidewalk. Many of the buildings had beautiful murals painted on the sides. I would soon cross the bridge over Laurel Creek, which would parallel the Virginia Creeper Trail, a 34-mile bike path that I would see several times on my hike. Passing the Crazy Larry's hostel right on the trail on Route 58, I would soon be out of town. Just a short walk on the Creeper Trail, I would make a left turn and climb up the big steps and into the woods for the first time on my trip. The first mile was a 500-foot climb. That was enough to have to shed my mid-layer once the trail flattened out for a bit. Another mile, and I was greeted with my first and only open view of the day. It was finally time to start heading downhill. I descended the next 3 miles, stopping for lunch along the way and enjoying the many water sources right off the trail. Breaking out of the woods, I came across the familiar Route 58 again. I'd crossed the winding mountain road and soon come to a small tributary to the Laurel Creek called Feather Camp Branch. The wooden bridge looked relatively new and was in great shape. I took a look at the stream and was soon on my way. Down and down I went until I could see bikers riding on the Virginia Creeper Trail. And I could hear the rushing waters of Laurel Creek. The trail soon took me all the way down to the creek where I stopped and got a good view. I just love hearing the sound of the rushing water of a mountain stream. I couldn't stop for long. I knew I had a big climb in front of me. The trail would switch back all along the mountain for 1.5 miles. This part of the trail was the toughest part of my entire day. I stopped at a tiny cascade of water coming straight out of the mountain to fill up on water for the first time this trip. I had a little problem though. When I tried squeezing my water through the filter, nothing would come out. I checked the nozzle and everything I could think of, and the water would just not come out. I then thought of back flushing the filter, which I did a few times, and then the water came just fine. That's something I should have tested before this trip. That's definitely a learning experience. I really needed the water for this last and hardest climb of the day. My legs were feeling as heavy as all the tree trunks around me. The switchbacks seemed like they would never end. I finally got to the first trail junction that would take me to my campsite. I decided to go to the next one because it would be a shorter trip back to the AT. Finally, I made the turn onto the blue blaze that would take me to Saunders Shelter. I was excited to see how many people would be at the shelter, and I was hoping to talk to some thru hikers and hear some of their adventures on the trail. Well, I got to the shelter area and there was no one to be found. In fact, I'd be the only one at the shelter that night. That was the first time that I've spent a night out in the woods all by myself. I found a pretty flat spot just behind the shelter and even saw the remnants of some snow. The first order of business when I get into camp is to put up my tent. I just got this new tent about a week ago. It's the Dan Durston X-Mid one-person tent. It weighs just under 2 pounds, and it's a trekking pole tent, the first one that I've owned. I've pitched it once in my backyard and once in Alan's yard, but this is the first time I've spent the night in it. Next order of business is to stock up on water. I had to take a little walk from the shelter, and I filled up my 2-liter water bladder from a nice running pipe spring, and I took it back to camp. I'll filter this water and use it in the morning as well. Since I only plan to be out 3 nights, I brought a dehydrated mountain house meal for each night. Tonight was chili mac and beef. I enjoyed a nice sunset before retiring for the night. It was a cold but sunny morning. I didn't have to hang my food bag last night because this shelter had a bear box to protect my food. A quick walk up to the privy, and then it was time to take my tent down and pack up my backpack. I filtered my water and made breakfast essentials to drink on the way down the trail. I got back on trail by 8:30. Just a few minutes down the trail, I saw 3 deer crossing the trail. We stared at each other for a minute, and just as I got my camera out, they took off through the woods. It was back on the trail through the green tunnel of rhododendron. Unfortunately, it was too early for them to bloom. About 4 miles into my hike for the day, I met the Virginia Creeper Trail once again. The trail flattened out into a paved road, and I met many bikers enjoying their bike ride.
Morning. How you doing? Hey guys, how you doing? Hello. Hey guys, how you doing? How you doing? Hello. Hi, how you doing?
After a little rest on the bench, I checked out Laurel Creek and soon walked over a long wooden trestle bridge. It was the longest and highest bridge I would cross on this hike.
Hey there, how you doing?
Just after the bridge, I got off the Creeper Trail for the last time, and I was back into the woods. After 6 miles of hiking, I came across the Lost Mountain Shelter. It looked like a good time for me to stop for lunch. I saw one hiker leaving when I arrived, and then I had the shelter all to myself. Just a mile down the trail, I crossed Route 58, the same road I took to arrive in Damascus. This would be the last time I see that road until I would finish the hike. I came up to a clearing, which was an open, grassy pasture area. It's always nice breaking through the woods for a few minutes. now going up the steepest and longest climb of my trip. The trail went up 1,500 feet in the next 2 miles. Man, it really kicked my butt. Halfway up the mountain was a great spot for a water break and a bit of a view of the mountains. It wouldn't be long before I would get one of the best views of my trip. Without the protection of the trees, the wind began blowing and the temperature dropped as I approached Buzzard Rock near the top of Whitetop Mountain. The view was incredible, and I had the top of the mountain all to myself. I would have loved to stay a little longer, but as the shadows lengthened, I needed to get to my campsite. Just before arriving at camp, I filled up with 2 liters of water at a gushing piped spring. A short walk, and I found a parking lot on Whitetop Road. There were a couple of tents already there, and I found a spot. This had to be the best view of any campsite I've ever had backpacking. The sun was setting quickly, and I was worn out. I set up my tent and didn't even eat dinner. All I wanted was to get to sleep. It was a windy night up there on the exposed mountaintop, and I hoped my new tent could withstand the strong winds. Guess I would find out pretty soon. After a great night's sleep, I found my tent did great in the strong winds that blew all night. I took some time to take in that great view of the mountains. As soon as I packed up, I was on my way for my last full day on the trail. I looked forward to seeing the wild ponies today in Grayson Highlands. Entering the elk garden area, there was a bathroom and a trash can. I emptied my trash and then talked for a while with a thru hiker from Quebec, Canada. I crossed over Whitetop Mountain Road. And entered a gate that would take me to the wild pony area. I reached the top of the hilltop meadow and got a great view from on top. Walking off of the meadow, it was back into the woods, and I entered the Lewis Fork Wilderness. Three miles from Elk Garden was a beautiful view of the highlands at an open meadow. I spoke with a thru hiker who came up behind me and said she saw a wild pony right in the middle of the trail. I was excited to see some for myself. This view was so nice, I decided to take a seat on a rock and take a little break. Climbing higher and higher, I would get to a blue blaze that would head up to Mount Rogers, which is the highest point in Virginia. Getting to the turnoff, I debated whether to take the half-mile trail up to the peak or not. I knew there wouldn't be any view up there, but I decided I would hike the extra mile because I may never get back here. One hiker suggested I leave my pack and walk up without the extra 25 pounds on my back. What a great idea. I felt like I was floating up the trail. The hike up was a fairly easy 300-foot ascent. The terrain would soon change dramatically. The pine trees and evergreens filled the forest with moss-covered trees. There was just something different about this place. I'm so glad that I decided to take this side trail. There was a small geological survey marker up on the highest rock to signify the highest point of Virginia. So I could say I was on top of Virginia.
Hey, how you doing? Good, thanks. All right. Hey guys.
made my way down to the nearby Thomas Knob shelter. The first thing I did was to find the piped water source that was just below the shelter. I found a flat rock at the Thomas Knob shelter and ate my lunch. I knew that this shelter was famous for ponies wandering around and meeting the guests, but of course I didn't see any. The shelter is a double-decker shelter, the first one that I've seen.
Takes all kinds out here. I like that guy.
I met a thru hiker who was also shooting video and has a YouTube channel named YOLO Hiker.
Hey guys, I'm YOLO. You can check out my YouTube channel at YouTube at YOLO Hiker, and I've been on trail for about 44 days now. I started March the 12th on my 51st birthday, and I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
So I'm Rocket Man. I'm from Frisco, North Carolina, and I started on Pi Day, March 14th, because I'm an engineer, and I'm Rocket Man because I'm an aerospace engineer.
You won't see me again because I'm super slow. And so everybody passes me. I don't think I've passed one person yet, so that's all right. I'm having a good time though. All right, good talking to you guys.
Leaving the shelter, I was getting close to Grayson Highlands. I just knew I would see those ponies when I got there. I did see some evidence that they've been around here. I would just hike on and keep a lookout. I found 3 different 500-mile markers in this section. This indicates that it's 500 miles since the start of the Appalachian Trail that begins on Springer Mountain in northern Georgia. This is still less than a quarter of the entire AT for those thru hikers. Wow, the landscape really changed here. There were rock climbs everywhere and tons of views that I just couldn't resist. One of the fun little spots here is called Fat Man's Squeeze. I'm not sure, but I think this is where I should have turned to walk through the squeeze. I wasn't paying attention to my online map, so I completely forgot about it. That's not the only thing I missed out on. Still, no ponies. Where in the world are they? I officially entered Grayson Highlands State Park. Finally, I saw some ponies. Unfortunately, they were just pictures of ponies. soon back into the woods on my way to Wise Shelter. This is the only place that allows camping in the state park. I found a great spot tucked underneath a canopy of rhododendron to set up my tent. There were around 7 or 8 people that ended up camping at this area. After setting up camp, I chose to have beef stroganoff for dinner before going to bed. I ended up hiking over 14 miles for the day. With the temperature in the low 50s overnight, it was the warmest night of the trip. It would be a short day today. I would walk south 2 miles back to Massey Gap, where I would meet my friend Alan, and he would drive me back to his house in North Carolina. Before I began my hike, I would take care of some morning business. Then it was time to pack up for the last time of the trip. I met some guys who came from Atlanta to hike north for 4 days. It was nice hanging around the shelter and talking to some other section hikers. I was on trail by 8:30, hoping to see those elusive ponies. This was my last chance. I only had a little more than 2 miles to see them. I stopped a few times, climbing up some of the rocks to see some sights I missed on the way to the shelter yesterday. took the turn off the AT and headed through the gate at Massey Gap and headed up to the parking lot. I arrived 30 minutes early, but Alan was already there waiting for me.
How long you been here? Oh, did you? Good. Did you get my text? Oh, see, so sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. So
Here, no hurry.
yeah, I didn't see one pony. I didn't see one.
Sometimes you
I saw a picture.
sometimes
That was it. All right, man. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad you had a good trip.
I loaded up the car with my pack, rolled down the windows, and took off down the winding roads of Virginia and North Carolina. I hiked a total of 35 miles in a little more than 3 days. This section of the trail was the toughest I've hiked, but also the most beautiful scenery that I've seen. Of course, my biggest disappointment was not seeing any ponies, but all the other experiences made up for the great trip. Thanks to my friend Alan for shuttling me around and letting Lynn and me stay with you and Penny for the week. Until the next time, I'll see you on the trail.